Okay? Somebody said Tory Lanez petition. We can talk about this. You know, I've delved into the whole Tory situation even more because, you know, obviously for what most people care about is a trial, right? So the trial's done. We're good. Everybody's kind of moving on. Some people may have hoped for a different result, but we know the result that's here. And Tory's is locked up. You know what I mean? I was having an extensive conversation about what happens here for Tory. Tory Lanez appeal petition. They started a petition has about, let me show y'all, has about 50,000, or actually about 49,000 or 40,000 actually, about 40,000 signatures, pretty much like damn near in a day. And here's the thing. The road for redemption or the road for freedom for Tory is a long one, okay? Tory, from what I've heard from all sources, is a immigrant. I do believe that most artists that come to the United States should look to find some way how to secure permanent residency or at least try to become a fully naturalized, U.S. citizen. The reason why, if you're making the majority of money in the United States, why wouldn't you want to be a citizen here? Also, here's the thing with how travel works. Usually, if you're a United States citizen, they let you go anywhere. You get what I mean? Like, okay, maybe Canada is weird, but he was born in Canada. You get what I mean? If, like, could you ever imagine trying to go to Mexico? And Mexico's like, no, you're too bad to come over here. No, they don't do that. You know what I mean? Like the American passport, right, is almost like, it's fucking, like, if you have one, you would realize, you travel to other countries, you're going to be numb and probably ignorant to the privileges you have, because when you don't have that American passport and you're trying to come to America, trust me, they're stopping niggas and doing all type of shit, okay? They're again, it's seen as, once you have this passport, you're more of a privileged traveler than others. That's what it's seen in most people's eyes. Anyway, I don't know why Tory's not a citizen. Tory's been making music with U.S. artists since 2012. Actually, some people might say 2009. But like 2012, 2011, I remember he had a song with Bun B. And for the life of me, I can't understand if he's been living in the likes of L.A. I believe he was living down south somewhere. I don't know if it was Houston. But he's been living in Miami for a while. Why aren't you a citizen? If Tory was a citizen, very different conversations were having. Because here's what supposedly and probably will happen. Tory's right now, he's locked up pending sentence. That's going to happen on January 27th, where he will be sentenced to anywhere from time served, which is definitely unlikely. Okay, like that's definitely not going to happen. Anywhere from time served all the way to, and this is if it's concurrent, to about 9 to 10 years, if it's concurrent. Now, if for whatever reason the judge wanted to be vindictive, they could sentence him up to about 22, 23 years, which means all three counts, run all of those counts concurrently. Not concurrently, consecutively. By the way, thank you for the gift that I'm going to shout you to say. So, consecutively. So, you got to do time for aggravated assault. Then you got to do time for having a concealed weapon. Then you got to do time for discharging a firearm negligently, right? That's the only way he does over 20. It's being thought that he's probably going to do between 0 and 10 or 0 and 9, but closer to 9 because, number one, he brought this to trial. And when you don't cop out and you bring the prosecutors to a whole trial, you waste a lot of resources. Usually in sentencing, the judge takes into account what the prosecutor suggests and recommends, right? So if they recommend, we recommend 9 years. The judge might be like, you know what? Let's go through the hearing. Let's see if anyone will speak on his behalf. I'm pretty sure maybe his child's mom would speak on his behalf, say, hey, Tory's been so good. Like, I'm unemployed. You saw his son come to trial every day. He supports us. If he's locked up for 9 years, we're not going to be able to survive, right? You're going to have some other people, maybe some peers. I don't know if there's going to be any rap peers. Like everybody's playing is really political when it comes to the rap sphere. But like, you're going to see other people who either work for him. You probably never even heard Tory rap about God, but he might have a preacher, a minister. Hey, I baptized Tory at 13. Like, Tory's always been a good guy. You know what I mean? Like, listen, like, we love Tory. You know what I mean? You might see Tory's 5th grade teacher pop out, right? Like, yo, Tory was always the person who knew that 2 + 2 was 4. You know what I mean? He was a good, hospitable kid. You know what I mean? He used to lend other kids his pencil, all that type of shit, right? So that's probably going to happen. And, in that type of process, usually what's needed is, will Tory seem contrite? Because what happens is, once, like, you could still think you're innocent and you can still say, no, I'm wrongly convicted. But now once you're into the sentencing part, if you like smug, like, yo, and I think, I don't know if Pac is a good example, but there's been a bunch of people who have, because they disagree with the verdict, once they got to sentencing, they were on some shit like, yo, I ain't apologizing for shit because I shouldn't have been convicted. Now, when you do that, basically you tell the judge, I ain't sorry for what y'all claim I did. And then they're not going to have any mercy on you. But I do believe, he'll probably show some, show him being contrite without him obviously like admitting or be like, oh, I'm sorry for shooting her type shit. And I could imagine what's probably going to happen at that point. I think he's going to get 6 to 7 years. Give it about 70, take 70% of that. He'll probably do 4 years. You get what I mean? Now, what's going to happen is that, and I believe it should have happened today. So today was the first day that the courts was open, at least LA Superior Court. Tory's team should have filed an appeal, okay? The transcripts are out for the entire case. Usually, sometimes you got to wait for all that to get transcribed, which means every word said in court is written up like a script. And usually you have to wait for it, but, initially you could file an appeal. Usually you have 30 days to do that. He probably filed an appeal, but here's the thing. Everybody's filing an appeal, okay? Nobody gets 40 years and be like, okay, thank you for the 40 years, I'll be back. Nobody gets that, right? Like, if you get found guilty, you're going to also file an appeal, I would hope, especially if it's going to take off significant years of your life. So the appeals process is really backed up. It's long. You got to sit there and kind of wait. What makes this complicated is that Tory is a immigrant. And now, I'm not all the way sure on immigration law, but I know a few things, and I would probably want to talk to somebody who either does know or somebody who's worked with, ICE before. I think Myron probably be a good person to ask for this. So normally what Tory could have did to like kind of get out, and by the way, I'm trying to tell you how Tory could get out of jail, right? He's convicted. He's awaiting sentencing. I think they're going to give him 6 to 7, right? Let's say he serves 4 to 5, right? That's if he goes through it, but he's going to appeal. The appeal should be submitted this week or next week, latest first week of July. Later on, he can substantiate the claims of why he needs to appeal it. Yo, check this out. They allowed, it's going to be usually clerical and judge errors. Hey, well, they allowed this to be played in court, which biased the case against me. One of the big things I think he's going to go hard with an appeal. Hey, listen, Kelsey got on the stand and said everything different from what was said in an interview earlier. And they played the whole interview in full after she got off the stand, which probably biased the jury. You know what I mean? He has a decent case for that. So a bunch of those type of things. But let me get to the meat and potatoes. If Tory was a citizen, once he filed for an appeal, right, he could then make a case to get bail pending appeal. That does happen, right? Which yeah, you're locked up. You're supposed to be serving your sentence. But it's almost like they say, you know what? Since this guy has a good case to appeal and his case is probably going to be appealed, let's let him out of jail and give him bail until we find out the decision on the appeal. Now, that's, again, he's a high-profile guy, and you can't really think, a lot of people think that the justice system is fair for everybody. It might have worked against Tory in this favor, right? Like, you always say, like, it helps certain people. Like, Thug got 4 bond hearings before some niggas got 1, right? Gunna got 4, then got a sweet plea, right? They got that essentially because they're famous. They got high-powered lawyers. They're spending a lot of money in petitioning the court and doing a lot of things that if you're not famous, you don't get those privileges. You get what I mean? Like, think about it. The governor was about to go on a march for Meek Mill because he got locked up over doing a wheelie. There's niggas who's locked up in the hood for motherfucking shoplifting that nobody gives a about. They don't care if they rot or die. So there is like, in a sense, there is like, if you're famous, you get some type of um, um, benefit from the criminal justice system at times. But in the case of Tory Lanez, I would believe it also hurts him. The reason why it hurts him is that I forgot my train of thought here. The reason why it hurts somebody like Tory is literally because since he's not a United States citizen, and this is such a high profile type of thing, if he's gonna get bail pending appeal, ICE is gonna say, no. We're sending this little midget back to Canada. Fuck that. If y'all let him out on bail, number one, you shouldn't, because they're gonna show up and say, no, we want to detain him. Then they're gonna make a case to say, Tory, if he is ever going to be waiting for an appeal, he should wait for his appeal, and we don't know how long it's gonna take, right? He should wait for it outside the borders of the United States. So that's the thing that's gonna kind of fuck Tory over, because he's not a citizen. And if you ask me, like even think about 21 Savage's case, that's why one of his cases is unresolved. Once you get a guilty conviction, ICE starts moving. Like if you're wondering like, yo, how's 21 still here? Well, he has a case that's pending, but he ain't resolved it yet. So in the eyes of ICE and everybody who's waiting to pick him up, they don't know if he's guilty or innocent. You get what I mean? But Tory, he went to trial. They have a guilty verdict. So ICE is saying, let's ship this nigga across the goddamn, you know what I mean, the Niagara Falls or wherever. Let's get this nigga back in Canada, man. So that's essentially what's going to happen. So if you're asking me what's a realistic timeline if he could get out, he files an appeal probably today, next week. An appeals process, LA County Court is severely backed up. It took 2 years for this to go to trial, even though supposedly the DA was ready before. If you ask me about an appeal, for it to so they're going to have to submit stuff, probably doing some hearings as well. They got to make their case to a judge. Like it's going to be an appellate judge. Hey, listen, these are the reasons why we think it should be appealed. Then the judge is going to take some time to think about it, this and third. There's no jury with this, right? The judge themselves is going to come to an agreement. And that, if you ask me, I don't think an appeal for Tory happens before a year. Year two, maybe 2 years. Now, say the appeal is granted, right? Say after like a year. So in a year, I don't think he's getting out the next year. Let's say in a year, the appeal is granted. Now, he has to wait for potentially a new trial, or, which if you ask me, just because like this is such a high profile thing, this is what I'm saying, this hurts Tory. The DA is definitely not going to be like, oh, we're not going through this again. This is high profile. They scored a big win. They're probably going to say, okay, he's trying to slither out of this legal system. We'll prosecute his ass again. So that's probably another year before that trial happens. Another year, maybe another 2 years. Essentially, Tory is in a whole heap of trouble. And if you ask me, I don't think we see Tory Lanez, unfortunately, in the next year, at least, but could be at least 3, even if he's going to get shit turned around. All right? Sorry, people. What I've been thinking about is, has Tory even like, these situations are hard, but like, do you think Tory going into court that day made a plan on what to do if he was found guilty? For some reason, I felt that from how he was tweeting before, the videos of him leaving and entering court, he looked like someone who the thought of him going to jail or prison didn't cross his mind. You don't think so either, right? Yeah, I don't think he had a backup plan.